Hello and welcome to the Eat, Move, Win podcast and the musings of a bullshit queenager, which is me and potentially the guest that we have today. We have the lovely Fiona Fraser who is joining me today. We're going to be talking probably a lot of fun stuff, probably a lot of insightful stuff. But first of all, I'm going to ask Fiona just to tell us a little bit about you, who you are, why you're here, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, I'm Fiona Fraser, the podcast expert. You might know me as more recently, but my background is actually PR and working in TV for 15 years. Who didn't know?
I bet you, honestly, I think we could probably sit for about 2 hours.
Pretty big shows.
Just talk about your time in TV and find out all the secrets.
I did EastEnders, The Apprentice, Celebrity Big Brother. So some pretty cool ones, yeah.
How did you get into TV and PR?
So I genuinely was on a bus in London. I saw somebody with a BBC pass and went, I'm going to go and work there. And that's what I did.
No way.
Honestly. Because I was, at the time I was working at Central St Martin's, which is a big art college, which was pretty cool. But I was supposed to be going to study to be a journalist because my boss at the time was like, you can't be a PA, go and do something with your life.
Why do you think that was? What had they identified about you that they are like, no, you need to be doing.
She said I was the worst PA she'd ever had. And I couldn't make a cup of tea for shit.
Yeah, I think that's like a fundamental skill that you need to nail.
But I was like, but I'm making you money, basically. She's like, yeah, I know. That's why you need to go and get a job that's about making money. I'm not making tea. I still can't make a cup of tea.
That is absolutely genius, right? No, right. So this, like, so if you're listening to this wasn't actually part of how.
I'm off track already.
we're literally 30 seconds in and we're off track already. I kind of had a sneaky suspicion that this might happen, though. Right. So going back to that bus journey, how on earth?
Bus journey.
Right. So I'm obviously not from London, and I have got this perception of London and big cities that you don't approach people. You don't make.
Oh, I didn't talk to her. No, absolutely didn't talk to her.
Oh, right. I had visions of you like barging up the bus and tapping them on the shoulder and going, "Give me your pass. I want to work there."
No, that would be probably far too simple. I saw the pass and basically went to work, Googled BBC jobs, their job site came up, a PA job came up, and I applied because basically I went to work there for the summer before I was going to start my journalism degree later in life. And again, I was a terrible PA, so after 2 weeks they moved me on.
There's a running theme here that's clearly not the career path for you.
And the thing is, good PAs are like literally just like worth their weight in gold. And I know I do know so many ones still that are like they've worked for Richard Branson as a result, you know, of that sort of job, and gone to work to Virgin Galactic and things. It's like, yeah, that was never going to happen for me. No one was going to take me on. So I knew I had to like find something else to do. And I basically got to go and work in the PR team. It's like an admin kind of role. And it was called like the publicity desk, and dealing with all the different shows. And I just loved it because it was obviously, I was reading all the magazines, you know, getting interview requests from radio and TV. I was like, this is epic. Like, and I basically stayed for 9 years after that. So I did find a job I was good at in the end.
What was the biggest, what part of you made you good at that job, do you think? Because it clearly wasn't tea. So what was it about you that made you epic?
So I guess the thing that's really hard to describe about PR is having like basically a good sense of like of managing relationships and like the right thing to say. So I used to have to write statements as the BBC all the time. So it'd be like a BBC spokesperson says, and I would write what the statement and response was.
That's famous in itself.
Yeah, I was the BBC spokesperson so many times. And I don't know what happened, but I'll just sit down, and then this is when I was in the corporate press office, actually, which was just a whole other time of my life. But, you know, I'd answer the phone like, hello, BBC press office. And it would be like, oh, it's the Mail on Sunday. We've got this terrible story. What are you going to do, basically? And I'll be like, so Marge, I'll get back to you. And then you put the phone down and go, oh shit. That's my whole, that's like the whole evening gone sorting this one out. So, and then you'd have to like write responses that are obviously based on facts. So you go and do your research. And I don't know why, but I just found it really easy to do. And for me, every time I sent a response off, it would get tweaked. No one ever was like, this is terrible. This is wrong.
That must have been a big bolt from the blue after having your tea skills completely criticised.
Exactly. So I was like coming from like zero confidence to like people like just saying, oh yeah, that sounds good. And I'm like, really? Okay. I just seemed to really pick it up, and then moved on to back into TV again, where I did like factual, and then into drama and on set at EastEnders for 18 months. So yeah, it was one of those things as well where you kind of become part of a tribe of the team. So you're so bonded and close that it was a really special time. It was great training for me to get that kind of experience. And I was just given opportunity after opportunity, more not necessarily because I was good, more because there's no one else to do it. But I was good. So
yeah, I think you kind of got to be laughing in that environment before. We've got like, you work in such an amazing team, and it just seems like everything is brilliant. You get the opportunities and you nail it, and you get the training, you get the development you need, and it's such an amazing environment to be in. So what made you not be in that environment anymore then? Because now you're obviously the podcast expert.
I am.
What happened?
So
that sounds really negative. What happened to you? Why,
what happened to you? Gone downhill. Wait, listeners, it does get better. So I left the BBC because basically it was like I was getting to the point where I was never gonna leave. So I kind of went to EastEnders as a half a foot out the door, because it wasn't in the central London with all my team. It was in Elstree, which is based in like outside of London. So it's half a foot out. Left there to go and work for Warner Brothers, where I was managing all their UK shows. Got made redundant after 8 months. So that was like, wow,
No.
But then I walked into a job at Channel 4. After that, I walked into a job at Endemol, which was doing Celebrity Big Brother and lots of other big shows. And then went to Fremantle, where I was doing the Apprentice and Take Me Out and Grand Design. So it kind of gave me confidence in a way, because it was like I'd sat in this one place waiting for opportunity for so long, and the opportunities I knew weren't really going to come. So I left, and then having that confidence of like, jobs will come, you're good enough, I think then led me to basically, I did get made redundant off the back of maternity leave during COVID, which is
maternity leave, redundancy and COVID all at the same time. You were winning a watch that year.
Yep. So that was 2020 for me, and I was desperate to get back to work and ringing up HR every day saying, just let me go already, because they furloughed me for 7 months, which was the right thing to do, obviously. But I was dying because I just wanted to get back to work. I was going crazy at home. So in the meantime, I was doing lots more of like digital marketing training, because I've got a marketing degree in the end through the BBC, and then set up my company. So I'm just going to go freelance PR, see how it goes. And it just really took off, fell into podcast, and then basically been specialist in podcasts for like 2.5 years when no one else was doing it. And there still really aren't that many people doing it, to be honest.
Well, that's really interesting you say that, because I've been thinking about a podcast for a wee while, or something. At the time, it wasn't even podcast, it was just like doing YouTube interviews. So we're talking a couple of years before I even really got into podcasts. And then when you first cropped up in front of me, that must be about a year ago now that I first saw you, because Fiona and I have done a couple of the same trainings, we're in the same mentor groups and coaching circles and whatnot. And I was like, oh God, everybody's doing podcasts. I'm so far behind. And now, so that's really interesting to hear you, the expert, say that actually it's still.
But how many people since we met a year ago just actually started a podcast? There aren't actually that many. So
well, it's probably only about 5. And in my world, that's like everyone.
But it's not though, because we should technically all have one. I mean, don't look at me. There's a reason I haven't got one, which I can tell you or not tell you. But
no, I need to know.
Basically, I'm doing a job of being a guest for like a period of time just to prove a point about something. So
I feel like she's going to tell us about what that point is.
So just watch out for that one. But actually 5 people that have launched a podcast this in the last year. And how many people do you know in your business circles? Hundreds.
Yeah.
So you're ahead.
Oh my God.
You are ahead.
Oh, I love praise. Oh,
feel good. You did it. Not everyone
I'm
does
worthy.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's insane. Right. Yeah. So I kind of get where you're coming from. I think it's just when you see it and everybody's talking about it, like more and more people are talking about the podcasts that they listen to and that they watch. And I think that's probably what.
I think the behavioural change is becoming more mass. And that's the thing, because I obviously work in the industry with my PR agency. I work with like the biggest production companies, talent. I'm exhibiting at the podcast show next week, which is the largest fair for podcasts in Europe.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. So I know all about the industry, the trends, what's happening. And I think podcasts really grew in lockdown, and the people expected them to drop off again because there are people back to work and all of that. However, because of the way we are now, with like we're online all the time, people do want that sort of audio only experience. So what they're seeing now is actually it's continually growing still. Yeah. So that behaviour is changing constantly. Whereas like a year ago, you might have recognised podcasts were a good thing to do, but other people didn't. And they're only realising now, oh yeah, I'm just going to give a podcast a listen. So it's becoming just more, I think it's just got more of a mass market now.
Yeah. I think being able to digest information in an easy way, like I think since COVID, certainly in my space, there's more of a focus on being outdoors and maximising their time and using that time to either increase your learning or develop something, or even just to kind of switch off. And I think that's where podcasts have really come into their own.
Because we're all sick of sitting and being just listening. Like we want to move and learn or be entertained or whatever it is really. So I didn't listen to anything really apart from music, obviously, before COVID. And my husband was on podcasts like since I've known him 8 years, which at the time I was like, what even is a podcast, you know? And so then when I started listening to audiobooks, so because of when I had the baby, I couldn't read. And an audiobook sort of saved me. And it was like, oh, this is a completely different learning experience, actually. So you're kind of missing a trick if you're not giving people a way to listen to you that's like easy and enjoyable and fits into their life where they're not sat on a computer. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, I'm putting you on the spot here. One audio book that changed your life.
What would I say it was? I really so I've listened to some of the ones that have had a bigger impact on me, like Caitlin Moran, Ruby Wax. I've listened to one at the moment by Gary Keller called The One Thing.
Which is I've heard that.
And what's the one I've got next to listen to? So I do mix them up actually. It depends what it is. So I'm reading Denise Duffield Thomas at the moment, but I've got her next one to listen to after that. So
immersing yourself.
Yeah, I'm not good at, so I can't listen to and read a book at the same time. So I have to do the book by itself.
One or
basically.
Yeah, exactly. One or other. No, I'll confirm with that. I think I over embedded myself in audio for a while, and I would be listening to the treadmill, and I think I made it not fun. Like I was doing really deep,
intense,
like Ray Dalio principles and all these like big philosophy books and stuff. And I think I kind of just went, you need to have some fun with some stuff.
100%. And I love the ones with like Caitlin Moran who reads them, because she reads them herself.
Have you read, I didn't listen to this on audio, I read it actually, and it was really good. And I think you'd like, if you like Caitlin Moran, Amy Poehler. Please. It's quite funny. It's quite entertaining. She's good. Right. So you touched on a few bits about confidence there about in the journey that you've been on. And we've chatted before a little bit about, finding your own voice. And I think that's like my audience is all women over 40. There's probably the odd man out there, hi
Hello,
man.
man.
Hello, what single man? It's from my dad or my husband. It won't be definitely won't be my husband. He's not going to listen to this.
Mine might.
Hi, Fiona's husband, Mr. Podcast Expert. Yeah, so there'll be a few under 40 and a few in their 50s and 60s, which is fine. But I think that topic really resonates to a lot of people because for so long, this kind of period, this kind of 40s, and we're talking a lot more about hormones change and whatnot, but it's always been a kind of a period of time that isn't talked about. That's kind of like, she's going through the change.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of, you've just got to put up and shut up now. And I'm interested, and I know that people listening will be interested. Tell us about how you then stepped into this confident version of yourself that you actually started like, you know what, I am good at this and I am going to put myself forward. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so a funny thing is, I was doing Lisa Johnson's podcast the other week, and she said when she met me in November, just gone.
Oh, was that at the event?
I went to her retreat in Birmingham. Not glamorous, Birmingham.
I was going to say retreat, glamorous, Birmingham.
She's known for doing all the glamorous ones, but she did Birmingham, so otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go, to be fair. So thank you so much, Lisa, for having it in Birmingham. So I never would have gone. And she described me as a mouse. Oh. And it's like a mute mouse. And anyone that knows me knows that's the last thing that I am. But at that point, I was basically. I kind of had this split personality where I'd always been really good in my TV career. I was so confident, I'd go into rooms with people that were really famous and I just wouldn't care because I remember even when I was working in one of the big hospitals in London, you had to go into consultants and say stuff. It's like, I just didn't care. People are people. I know how to deal with people. I'm very confident in that respect. But then I had a baby when I was 35 when I had her. Oh God. Then turned 36, I think. I don't remember.
I do that all the time. Like, I had a baby, I was either 31, 32 or 30.
And then I lost my memory since I had a baby. That's what happens, isn't it? So it all goes very foggy after that because the first 2 years of that I had her were really difficult for me personally, health-wise, for various things. So, but the first year especially was terrible. So it was such a shock to be a mum and to have my life just ripped away from me was what it felt like. And then people, it was obviously like the love that I had for her was so intense that it was kind of overwhelming. So it was it's not how I expected it to be. Not that I had many expectations because I've never been sat around wanting to be a mum my whole life, but I was fortunate enough that we wanted to, and I got pregnant the day after my wedding. So
we have got such similar stories, by the way. That's just like reading the Emma McElhinney autobiography right there.
Oh wow! It's like there's a small window,
and we took it.
It opened, and in came the stalk with a baby. So there you go. And yeah, it wasn't an easy pregnancy. So the minute I got pregnant, I felt like I lost myself because I became this kind of vessel, I guess, and it was just one problem after another. And it was such a shock to the system. That's why I was so desperate to get back to work, to sort of remember who I was. And then obviously my work just like chewed me up and spat me out, essentially, like I was nothing. I mean, the bit I missed out is they asked me to go and do a bigger job, which was, some really the biggest entertainment shows in the country. And I was like, I'm not doing this now. I just forget it because I'd have to travel up and down. And no. And the weekends would be gone. So I had to make a decision to back myself really at that point as well and be like, take the risk and do, because I couldn't go back to what it was before, let alone an increased version of it. Like I wasn't okay. I was doing well at work. I'll come home and I wasn't all right. And it's been a really long process. Like, I mean, I say long because for me time goes slow, but I guess it's not even 3 years yet. But of like just trying to get work and then be like, no, but what work do I want? And then being like, okay, but now what like who am I? Yeah. Because that's the next stage really, is like the panic of can you survive? Can you thrive in what you're doing? And then like, okay, but how do I elevate this? And you can only do that once you've done the work on who you are and what you're about. And I don't think I ever I just don't think I was ever living as myself, to be honest, as
Yeah.
dramatic as that sounds.
It's,
And at some point, when you have a baby, you just think, oh, I don't give a fuck. You're all right with swearing, aren't you?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. I think if I turned around by this point in my life and went, nah. Yeah, everybody would just like, what?
You just think, how ridiculous. Like, so I've just had to really push myself out, because what it was is there was me as an employee of the BBC. I was very protected by this big organisation.
Yeah.
And then me on my own going to an event at the time of Lisa Johnson, who I didn't say hello to for 2 days.
Oh my God, I just can't envision
2 days
at all.
Didn't say hello. Then actually ended up sat next to her at dinner, again, completely by accident. And was like, oh my, I think I might move. I can't do this. Imagine I just got up and moved. Yeah, I don't know. In the last few months, I mean, she's definitely helped me. I mean, move me along, but also just I'm meeting so many amazing people who are like supporting me as well, and I like support. Giving them support makes me feel confident as well. So I think the more you can surround yourself with like-minded people, the confidence will just come.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I think that whole topic around identity, like a lot of women, it happens to when they do have a child, and that's what happened to me, and completely lost my identity. And I also was surrounded by this corporate bubble, and but it's you mentioned there, like at work you are fine, at home you're not. And like for me, I was not okay at work or at home. Like I was a shit wife, I was a shit mum, and at work I wasn't standing up for my team, I wasn't assertive, I wasn't challenging people, and it was just like, what has happened to me? Like,
you're just basically fucking everything up at that point.
And until I don't think, like, you can fake it till you make it, but until you actually figure out who it is that you want to be, that's when the real journey starts, because it gives you a kind of a goal to keep working to. And like, what does that version of Emma or Fiona or whoever look like? What does she do in that situation?
Not what you should do, because we're all just, when you start out, it's like, well, this is what they do, so I'm going to do that. Or, I mean, I've never quite been someone that copies people and looks for cues like socially, because I just I think I'm quite good at all that. But it was such a shock to the system when I had to present myself. Especially like online, or this time last year, I honestly couldn't do a Facebook Live. I did, I literally hadn't done one. And now,
you're all over the place.
Chatting to everyone. So, it can happen quickly, because literally the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more confident you get. And I guess I can be quite addicted to throwing myself into difficult situations just to get that buzz of like, I've done it.
It's really cool how that happens. Like I remember the first time that I did a live, and all I could think about on the live was, oh my God, your eyebrows are completely unsymmetrical. And oh my God, your voice is atrocious. And I've said to you before about like the issues, like we all have these things about ourselves that we don't like. And one of the things is my voice. Because I did a Facebook ad once, and it was like a sponsored ad on Facebook, and somebody had said, oh my God, I imagine listening to her all the time, her voice is really annoying. And that really stuck with me. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's a complete stranger who feels the need to actually insult my actual voice. And I was just like, oh, but I kind of got over that. But it's just like a real niggle. But the more you do these weird things that you would like 5 years ago, if somebody had said to you, you're going to be doing all these podcasts, you're going to be helping all these business owners elevate their platforms through podcasts, you'd be like, that, I get yourself off.
I didn't even know what podcast was probably still then. But that one comment can really hold you back. Like, I know we've sort of talked recently about accents and all of that, and me working at the BBC for 9 years, being a very like called salt of the earth, inverted commas, and so down to earth, all these kind of things that I used to get called, that were basically just saying I was common. Like that's essentially what it comes down to, that I was working class. okay, maybe not common, working class is probably the technical term, but I felt that they was just saying that I'm common. So, you know, when I went to Channel 4, I thought it was going to be like even like much more diverse and kind of all sorts of different people, and it was kind of even posher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would not
Sorry,
expect
guys,
that.
but it was Channel 4.
I would expect everybody to be kicking about in ripped jeans and army jackets, smoking joints, and obviously that's my.
Do you know what though? There probably was enough of those people, but maybe I just didn't see them. So when you're in the PR department, you're dealing with like the top, you know, top execs, all of that. So yeah, so they are your day-to-day contacts, and then the kind of actors and, you know, presenters. And so me turning up, so that I remember at Channel 4, it was so quiet at the office that I actually just didn't talk in the office.
I just can't imagine that version of you at all. Like, genuinely just can't imagine that. I just see you as this being really outgoing, confident, just strong individual. So to have someone describe you as a mouse is like, oh my God.
It's a shock. And that wasn't even that long ago, but
no.
I would go to so they used to have like weekly team meetings, and I remember I was going on set with Bryan Cranston from
Breaking Bad.
I watched it. Breaking Bad, yeah. So
I even know who that is, and I'm terrible at celebrities.
What's his character name again?
Bob. I didn't watch.
Whatever it is.
I only watched one episode of Breaking Bad and went, this like I'm either in or I'm out, and I was out. I
think whatever reason. Anyway, so someone said to me, "Oh, you're going to meet so and so tomorrow," and obviously I was in such a panic I didn't realize they were talking to me, and I was like, "Me? Like, yeah, you're going to meet so and so." I was like, "No, I'm meeting Bryan Cranston," and everyone just burst out laughing. And it still haunts me to this day how stupid I was. But I just didn't want to be seen or looked at. And it was like, oh God, I don't know what they said. I just completely, my ears closed up at that point with anxiety.
Oh dear me. What a journey.
Walter White, that's it. Walter White.
Well, yeah, that's it.
Yes. So he's pretty famous, to be fair.
Did you Google that? Did you just Google that while we were chatting?
No. It just came back again. My mind froze from the fear of like that moment where I still couldn't remember the name.
I remember we had this is years ago when I was in the organisation that I left before I went self-employed, and we had one of these like motivational offsite days, and it was quite a funky company, and they were like, it was kind of like they were trying to want to be Google, that kind of vibe. And we had one of these offsite days, and like motivational speaker, and it was all these young people. So at this point, I would have been probably, before I had Archie, so I'd be like late 20s, early 30s. And everybody else was probably early 20s in my department anyway. And they brought out Chris Akibusi. Do you remember Chris Akibusi, the sprinter, right?
Yeah.
So I used to be a sprinter when I was at high school. So like that, I was like, oh my God, it's Chris Akibusi. And everybody else was like, who?
Who?
Not like that. What do you mean? So that was our company's claim to fame. We got Chris Akibusi. And also on one of the other offsite days, randomly, we got 2 Red Arrow pilots that did motivational speaking. And I just couldn't get to grips with that at all because it was quite dull what they talked
about. Red Arrow pilots. Oh, I mean, we know some great motivational speakers we could have put forward at this point.
Well, if I still worked there, I would care. But
yeah, exactly. Carry on being bored, guys.
I know. Right. So for Team EMW, my mission, I suppose, is for all women to feel amazing. Like everybody deserves to feel amazing. So I want to know what makes you feel amazing.
I think so. This is something I've been trying to work out recently with my mission as well. And someone said to me, the thing that you're fighting for, like the thing you struggle most with is probably the thing you want to give people. And that is to be accepted. And I mean and seen and understood, which sounds a bit, I know it sounds a bit heavy, but I just mean I've never had the kind of permission to be myself at work or in those types of environments. Or if I'm out, it's like I'm too much or I'm too loud, or I kind of always had to like manage my energy to be like, okay, I'm on or I'm off. So it's definitely around kind of wanting to just like let people know it's all right to be them, give them the space to be themselves, and feel, you know, because when people have done that for me, it's almost like this kind of, it just radiates out of me how happy I am, that I'm just like, I'm here and I'm being myself and it's amazing. So that's what makes me feel amazing, is just being around people that accept me, I think.
That is like, I didn't realize how close our paths have actually been running, because I've been through a bit of a journey this past month about stepping into being actually me, rather than trying to be somebody that I think people want to see. And it's a few, not just one person, like a few people that we probably both know have said this past couple of weeks, they're like, oh, you're back. Like the persona that you're putting across on social media actually feels like you, and the posts that you're writing is actually you again, not this wishy-washy other person. So that's kind of cool that is so intertwined.
That's super powerful. Especially if you're running a business, it's like you want people to see you, so they come to you. And if you can feel when someone's energy is off, that they're like, they're not being right. So I walk into that room last year and retreat, and I'm behaving like how I think I should, or watching to see how other people behave, but none of it was in line with how I do things. So, you know, the next time I do that, it'll be completely different. And and then you kind of, it's just so natural that people like are attracted to you for it. You can tell when someone's nervous, or like, and not, but it's all right to be nervous, but like in terms of, it's almost like a delay in terms of how they're responding to things, because you can see that they're trying to like say the right thing, and it's awkward.
I think it's,
don't be like, an awkward turtle.
I think nerves are fine and nerves are natural.
Absolutely.
But you're bang on the money that, see, when you're not being you, it makes you feel even worse, because you're constantly second guessing yourself, going, right, this persona that I think everybody else round about expects me to have, what would that person do? And it's so far away from what your actual real person would do, that it just comes across as you're just being a shady person, or you're just, you know, just you know, when your energy just isn't right, and it is so off-putting. So yeah, absolutely. And I just love how you are just doing it. Just, you know, you've gone through the can't make a cup of tea, lower confidence.
No, that's just because I'm shit at making tea. That was never to do with confidence.
You cannot be from the UK and make I just don't even think
I don't mind it. I like my tea, but no one else does. So that's not my problem at this point. Make your own.
Says I make absolutely terrible tea, because I have no patience for. He's like, yes, you've got to let it sit, and like that. I don't have time to let it sit.
No, we are so similar. This is insane. So with my husband now, I leave his bag in it, because I'm like,
well, my husband gets disgusted because periodically through the day he'll come and collect all the cups that I've accrued on my desk, right? And he's like, Emma, that's disgusting. You have just left the tea bag in that. I was like, oh, yes, I have, because I don't have a spoon here and I've just drank it with the tea bag in. Anyway, right. Final question.
Yes.
This is a toughie. If you could share any wisdom, what would it be? Not naming the characters in Breaking Bad. Maybe a good pub quiz question, but this is not a pub quiz.
It sounds so like cliche, but like, trust your instincts, you know, with what you're doing, because you know yourself better than anybody else. If you're feeling resistance, listen to it and understand it, because that is, you know, whether you call it your gut or, you know, anxiety or whatever it is, it's like, it's all the same. Whatever the energy is, try and understand where it's coming from, because as soon as you do, that's when you can like start to break through things, I think, and create change. I'm not trying to sound like I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm talking about, it can be like really small things. You know, like, how am I going to make this happen that I get to yoga this week. And it becomes this real thing of like, I'm not going to make it. It's like, it's just kind of, what's the fear behind that? Is it because you're scared you don't want to be seen there? Talk about myself here. And then once you kind of realise that, you're like, no, I was going to turn up. Then that actually gives you that kind of freedom. So I think it's just always listening to that little, your instincts and those little voices and trying to understand what they're telling you.
Yeah, because sometimes I had a mindset coach come into my membership the other day, and she's like, a lot of people are like, trust your instincts, go with your gut. But what if that's wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what if that's just years upon years of making
so
all
that's what you've got to work
right
out
in the first place? Yeah.
But that's why I think if you try and understand it, so your gut saying don't do this, and you're like, you don't say, okay, I'm not going to do it. It's like, why? Ask yourself why is this feeling coming to you? God, I never planned to say this at the end of the interview, but it's because that's what's changed things. It's like when I started to really understand what the energy was telling me, and because the thing is as well, if you could do that, you can then start to like not do the things you don't want to do really easily and be like, do I really not want to do this, or is it because I'm scared of something? It's like, no, I really don't want to do it. Don't do it then. And then the thing is, that means that your energy comes for the things you do want to do. And it's so easy to get the energy then for the things you do want to do, because you're just unburdening yourself all the shit you don't want to do.
Yes. Oh my God, you're so wise.
Oh God, I didn't even realise.
You're so wise. Oh, I need to think of a cool name to name this podcast then. Oh, I'll think of something. Right. Is there anything else that you want to tell us? Anything else that you want to share? Where can people find you if they want to find you?
So I'm on Instagram as the podcast expert, and that's my website as well. At the moment, the way I'm helping people is to get booked on podcasts as a guest, because as you can probably have told today, it gives you an amazing space to talk about what you're doing, share more about yourself and your story, and connect with people as well. So just have these really deep connections like that will last for a long time, because I think we could be lonely as business owners, and for me, one of the best things I've done really is doing podcast interviews. So hence that's why I'm just doing more and more of them rather than starting my own at the moment, because I'm just enjoying getting around speaking to other people. So yeah, I'm always on Instagram every day, so you find me there.
Yeah, it's always on Instagram every day. Right, my lovely. It was amazing having you here. I'm so delighted that you come on. I've had such a laugh. So I really hope that somebody somewhere has taken just one part of what you said and is able to trust themselves, do something different, or just step into their own brilliance.
Just try and have fun. Do what's fun, like whatever fun is to you. For me, fun is just going out and being loud. So
I'll tell you what fun is not for me: jumping out of a plane.
Don't do that then.
No, there's a lot of people. Seem to be a lot of people doing jumping out of a plane for charity just now, and like because they've got a fear and stuff. And I'm like, no
pressure there.
No one whatsoever.
Don't even.
Oh, all righty. See you very, very soon, Fiona.
Thank you.